and let the Lord do that which is good in his sight. In other words, they were trusting the Lord. And it spoke to me because in this time in our life, we can only do the best that we can do. Truly, we need to be living for God. And truly, I feel in my heart, I need to do my best for God. But it's up to God to take care of things. And we have to trust him. And we have to rely upon him. And we may think we know best, but that may not necessarily be what needs to take place. And so as we look at this and as we begin to move forward, I just was impressed with that statement in there, their reaction to fight the best they could, but then let's let the Lord do what's best in his sight. What a trust. I mean, you're literally in a battle for your life, and they were willing to say that. When we come to chapter 20, we see that the giants, the sons of Goliath, are defeated. And it made me realize, there were different men that defeated these giants. David wasn't the only one that defeated a giant. And as we begin to look at this and as I begin to study, I realized all of us have giants in our life that we have to face. And it's our job to defeat them and to be able to move forward with the Lord. It may be that we don't have the ability in something and we have to get better at it. It may be fear. There's so many things I thought in my own life. And as I was looking at that, the Lord just spoke to me, and that's kind of, there's a message in there, I'll say that. But as I looked at that, it was definitely an impression upon me. We're going to face giants. There are things that are big in our life. We look at them and they're big. They may have 6 fingers and 6 toes on each foot and on each hand. And so as we look at that, we're faced with that. In chapter 21, it really, I thought that was interesting because the first verse it says, and Satan stood up against Israel. When God's people are successful and God's people are fulfilling what God wants, Satan is going to stand up. Now, here's the thing. Nothing happens unless God allows it to take place. In other words, he gave Satan the opportunity to do that, just like he did with Job. And I believe that in this time that David was being tested. Are you going to trust in the men you have, or are you going to trust in me? And David realizes that what he does in numbering the people is wrong. And he carries a great guilt because of what it cost, not him in particular, but what it cost the country and the people and the men's lives that were lost in what he chose. But we also see in chapter 21, as we begin to look at this and as we look through, that this test was sent by God. And it was David that personally did wrong, and the David that was faced with that. And David realized that as God showed him what he needed to do to make things right, David had to go to the threshing floor there where Ornan was and purchase that and to build an altar. And the idea is he needed personally to make things right. And the death angel, was the angel that was destroying everything, was sitting there waiting to see what David was going to do. And David went to the man and said, I need to do this. And the man's like, you can have it. And I find it real interesting because David said, no, if I'm going to do something for God, then I need to give to God and I need to take care of things and not just have it given to me. In other words, I need to give of myself in order to be able to do this. And he purchased the land, he purchased all the instruments and the different things and gave that to him. And so as I looked at that, it made me realize, okay, God, it wants us to give of ourselves. And, I think it made me realize the things I have are not mine. They're God's. And I would be much better off to just let God have them and to use them. And I don't have a lot. I don't. But as God blesses and as God works, it's made me realize I just need to give to God and let God use it in the way that needs to be used to reach more people with the gospel. And that's evident because in the very next chapter, in chapter 22, David goes from getting things right with the altar to preparing things for the temple. Now, remember, David wasn't going to be allowed to build the temple. It was going to be Solomon. But David not only he built the nails, he built the doors, he built the joinings, he gave brass, he gave trees, he got stones cut, ready to use. And not only did he get the details and the physical things ready, but he also prepared Solomon and told Solomon, listen, you are going to build the temple. I had a desire, but now you're going to do it. And that made an impression upon me in this way. Everything we do is to prepare to be able to be used for God in what God's going to do for the future. And we have a responsibility to pass that on to the next generation. And I'm getting older. There's a younger generation. They need to know, hey, we need to keep moving forward. We need to have faith. We need to get the details and prepare to build and to do. And, I look at this in my way and say, in my eyes and in my heart, and God just spoke to me and said, listen, you need to be preparing. It may be that God would allow me to be a part of a new building built here, a new auditorium for our church, new facilities. It may not be. It may be my job to get all the things in place to do that. But whatever the case may be, my job is to prepare and to move forward and not sit in the past, but to move forward. Keep doing more for Him and trust Him. And so, boy, there's a lot of information in these 4 chapters today. I hope that you'll take the time to really read them and study them. I hope you're still praying. We're praying this week 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night. I hope that you're doing that, and I hope that you're asking God to work. And I'm excited about Sunday. We will be sending out a letter to you via the message board, and also we'll be sending a letter out in the mail to all of our members so you understand the guidelines and the steps we're taking to move forward. I do appreciate the men meeting with me last night and kind of going over these things and the help that they were to me as we look forward to getting back into church and moving forward in the next several days, weeks, and months to be able to serve the Lord and to reach people with the gospel. Well, I look forward to seeing you tonight. We have church, 7 o'clock. Hope you'll be there. It's the last just live stream service that we'll have. As of now, starting on Sunday, unless something changes, we'll have people in the auditorium. We will continue with the live stream, but you should get your prayer list this afternoon via the message board, and I hope that you are looking forward to being with us at 7 o'clock for our Wednesday night service.